Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. Welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. Now we're in this chapter where Krishna is describing the life of the renunciants of ancient times, the path of the sannyas and the path of the vanaprastha. So we just kind of finished the vanaprastha path and we started speaking on the sannyas. And the vanaprastha was the person who would remove him or herself, or sometimes as a couple, remove themselves from society, from the town, from the village, and go live in a very simple way in the forest. Vanaprastha literally means in the forest. So they would live a very renounced, simple life in the forest, just eating whatever they could find in the forest. And then a step beyond that in terms of renunciation was the path of the sannyas. And we're going to be reading about that today. And then later in this chapter, Krishna is going to go back and finish off the varnashrama system by talking about different activities for all other ashrams as well. Now, if you want to watch the rest of this Uddhava-gita course, please make sure to become a member of this channel, and the instructions are here in the description of the video. And then go to Uddhava-gita.com, where you can see the whole course. There are over 100 classes already in this course. So it's fascinating content, Krishna's last instructions on earth. So we are in the 11th canto, 18th chapter, verse 17. Krishna says, "One who has not accepted the three internal disciplines, avoiding useless speech, useless activities, and controlling the life air, can never be considered a sannyasi, merely because of his carrying bamboo rods." So, as you may know, the sannyasis, when they take this vow, they would actually make a walking staff of three bamboo rods. That's what sometimes you call the three dandi. Danda stick, three dandi. So they would get this three bamboo sticks and they would wrap them together with some cloth. You might have seen this. And then so you'd have a walking stick, like a large walking stick made of these three cloths. It was a practical thing because it's funny that the pilgrims in medieval Europe, they would all have their walking sticks. It was like a standard thing. If you're going to go on pilgrimage, you have to get your walking stick. So having a walking stick is a standard thing for those who are going out into the world away from the comfort of home, and they're just going to be doing lots of walking and moving around, so they should have a stick to use it, to walk, and also sometimes they would use it to defend themselves. So you have the three dandi. But Krishna says, look, don't make a show of, getting a stick and going out there if you don't do these internal things. So the three things are avoiding useless speech, useless activity, and controlling the life air, kind of a pranayama. What does that mean? Well, avoiding useless speech, of course, very important point, I always mention, controlling the tongue is the most difficult thing. And that means controlling what you speak and what you eat. So if you can control your tongue, then you can control everything. That's the idea. If you can control the tongue, it doesn't start with the sexual organs. It starts with the tongue. If you can control the tongue, then you can control everything. That's the way it's presented in our tradition. So useless speech. It's very bad because when you speak, of course, this directly molds your consciousness. Your words are very powerful in molding your consciousness. Words shape your thoughts, shape your mind more than anything else. So when you speak useless words, your mind becomes useless. Your mind gets distracted. So, but if you, for example, chant the holy names, then immediately you become transcendental because the holy names is direct connection. So it's very powerful. The power of speech is very great. So avoiding useless speech, avoiding useless activities, because the whole point of this sannyas order was to okay, now I'm kind of stepping out of life. This is it. I'm out of here. Remember, all these practices were a way of people saying, look, I'm done with this material life. I got this chance. I took my human birth, and I got this knowledge, and I'm out of here. So this is you stepping back, you're getting away from it. So you're trying to reduce your involvement. That's the path of the renunciant, is trying to just reduce your path, your involvement with the world. So you want to do the least amount possible. You want to own the least amount possible. You want to do the least amount possible. Everything is reduced because it's just a bare minimum. I mean, if you want to, what was the, renunciate, what was the path? Bare minimum. Bare minimum everything. Bare minimum of words, of activities, of food, just of clothing, your belongings, everything at the very bare minimum. That's the idea, of course. So, reduce everything, and controlling the life air, which we would call it pranayama. It's not, the word isn't used pranayama here, but the same idea. Controlling the life air here is just anila ayama. It just means controlling your energies. It's pranayama in this sense, which means like subduing your mind. That's what pranayama is. When you ever see it, it's always on the list, of the path of yoga. It's always sit down, asana, pranayama. The idea is it helps you control your mind. That's the idea of pranayama. Control your mind, control your senses, so you can direct your mind correctly to transcendence. So same idea here. Control your energies, your life air, your mind. Purport. The word danda indicates the staff carried by those in the renounced order of life, and danda also indicates severe discipline. The Vaishnava Sannyasis accept a staff made of 3 bamboo rods, signifying dedication of the body, mind, and words in the service of the Supreme Lord. Here Lord Krishna says that one must first accept these 3 dandas, or disciplines, namely control of the voice, body, and mind, within oneself. The practice of anilayam, or pranayam, regulating life air, is meant to control the mind, and one who always thinks of service to Lord Krishna has certainly achieved the perfection of pranayam. Merely carrying 3 external dandas without assimilating the internal dandas of bodily, mental, and vocal discipline can never make one an actual Vaishnava Sannyasi, as explained here by Lord Krishna. In the Uddhava-gita section of Mahabharata and in Srila Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita, there are instructions regarding the sannyas order of life. A conditioned soul who adopts only the external ornaments of Tridandi sannyas will not actually be able to control the senses. One who takes sannyas for false prestige, making a show of saintliness without actual advancement in Krishna Kirtana, will soon be vanquished by the external energy of the Lord. Verse 18. Now, all these instructions here that we're seeing, you're not going to take, practically nobody can take sannyas like this today. There are still some orders of renunciants in India, but it's basically not going to happen. So what you have to do is take these verses and see what the meaning is. Like, for example, the meaning of the 3 dandi. We don't want to carry around 3 bamboo sticks. We don't need that at all. It's the other way around. We actually don't want the bamboo sticks, but we do want the 3 internal dandas, the 3 internal disciplines. We do want to control our speech. We do want to control our body and our minds. That's the path we're on. So all these instructions, all these verses, don't look at it like, oh, I'm not going to become a sannyas anyway, so who cares? No. Take the meaning of it. Take like what's behind this, because that's what really counts. That's the important part, not the external part, not the external practices. So here are some more sannyas regulations. Rejecting those houses that are polluted and untouchable, one should approach without previous calculation 7 houses and be satisfied with that which is obtained there by begging. According to necessity, one may approach each of the 4 varnas of society. So, this is one rule. There's a whole other part of the Uddhava-gita where there are more rules. But this is just a general thing. So here's a general rule. 7 houses, that's all you get. So the rule is, of course, they would beg for food. That was the whole idea. You couldn't have any other arrangement for having food. You'd have to beg for it. Why? Because it goes against everything you were doing as a grihastha, as a householder, right? As a householder, there's like you're making it, you're producing. The grihasthas, they were, they had to produce, they had to, pay for their living, do something for their living. They would either be brahmanas teaching and doing the yagyas and in astrology. They were doing some. The kshatriyas were fighting and organizing the camp. The vaishyas were doing agriculture or business. The shudras were working. But now you're not doing anything. You're retired. So you're stepping out. So you're not producing anything. You're unproductive. The sannyasi is unproductive by determination. So he has to beg for food, which is also embarrassing. There's it kind of just makes you, humble. It humbles you because it's like you're begging for food. It's in terms of society, of standing in society, what's lower than begging for food? But it's not lower because it was a very high order. These people could have stayed home, but no, they had chosen its chosen path of this belittling yourself and begging for food. And you'd have to be ready to go hungry because you get 7 houses. And you couldn't, it says specifically, without previous calculation. So you can't have a little app, a little sannyas app. Okay, what are the good houses with 5-star ratings? Oh yeah, my fellow sannyas had that house. Very pious person with lots of great food. So we're gonna go there. No previous calculation. You just have to go there in the village, 7 houses. And whatever you get, that's all you're gonna get for today. That's it. So you'd have to. That would be the austerity. And it's, and you should go to all members of society. But you should avoid the polluted and untouchable houses. How you'd figure that? I don't know, I guess if you'd see meat drying off from the porch, it's okay, that's not a house I'm going to. Or if you'd see the equivalent of, beer bottles strewn all over the garden, you'd probably avoid that house too. But somehow you'd find out which, you'd get a feel oh, that's really tamasic looking house, or some tamasic thing going on there. I don't want anything to do with that. Purport: saintly persons in the renounced order of life may beg from strict followers of Vedic culture to obtain foodstuffs and other bodily necessities. According to Vedic injunctions, a renounced saint should beg from the Brahmana community, but if there's danger of his starving, he may beg from kshatriyas, then vaishyas, and even shudras if they're not sinful, as expressed here by the word vigarhayan. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that ashankliptan indicates that one should not approach certain houses, calculating, in that place I can get first-class food. That house has a big reputation among beggars. Without discriminating, one should go to 7 houses and be satisfied with whatever may be obtained there. One should beg for one's own personal maintenance only from houses where the inhabitants, being sincere followers of the varnashrama culture, have earned their livelihood by honest means and are free from sinful activities. One may beg alms from such householders. One must not beg alms from one's personal maintenance from those who oppose the Supreme Lord's devotional service, for such service is the whole purpose of the varnashrama system. Verse 19. Taking the food gathered there through begging. So you go there, you get your food, but you don't eat it right away. One should leave the place. One should leave the populated areas and go to a reservoir of water in a secluded place. There, having taken a bath and washed one's hand thoroughly, one should distribute portions of the food to others who may request it. One should do this without speaking. Then, having thoroughly cleansed the remnants, one should eat everything on one's plate, leaving nothing for future consumption. That is very interesting. So you beg for food, and you couldn't just like sit on the curb there and eat it. No. You go around the 7 houses, you beg for food, and then you have to get out of the village again. You have to go out. Go out and look for some place with water, a stream or riverside. Go somewhere. Then before you eat, you're starving, you want to eat, but no, calm. You have to take a bath first. So you take a bath and you wash your hands. Very good hygienic suggestion. So you take a bath, wash your hands, and then you eat everything? No. Then you still have to give your food away. Can you imagine? I mean, you're living off begging for food. And then you'd still have to like share your food, the food you begged for. You should share it with other renunciants or something. So then you'd share your food without speaking. And then you'd cleanse the remnants, and then finally you should eat everything. And you couldn't store it. You couldn't like, oh, that was nice. I'll keep this for dinner. Oh, and look, I've got some nice biscuits here. I will leave that for tomorrow's breakfast. No. Can't keep anything. So this we can learn. This renounce, this like let go of everything. You know, just at least mentally be ready to just not be attached to anything. Again, take the internal lessons of these things. So don't keep anything. Oh, but what maybe if... Keep your mind in the here and now. Take what it is, you keeping nothing. Very interesting concept. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and by the way, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is a guru in our lineage from the early last century. He explains that a saintly person should not argue or quarrel with materialistic persons who may request or demand part of his foodstuff. The word vibhajya indicates that one should give something to such persons to avoid disturbance, and then offering the remnants to Lord Vishnu, one should eat everything on one's plate without saving for the future. The word bahi indicates that one should not eat in a public place, and vagyata indicate that one should eat silently, meditating upon the Lord's mercy. Verse 20. Without any material attachment, with senses fully controlled, remaining enthusiastic and satisfied in realization of the Supreme Lord and his own self, the saintly person should travel about the earth alone. Having equal vision everywhere, he should be steady on the spiritual platform. So this is very nice. So this is, again, renunciation means you don't have a place to stay. Because the Vanaprastha had a place to stay. Had a little cabin in the woods. You know, had a little setup there. He had something set up. He would sleep at least on the floor, but it was the floor of his cabin. And he'd have his things there, you know, some little cloth, and he would keep some fruit for breakfast. And so that was that kind of life. That was the Vanaprastha life. But sannyas, harder still. So no place to stay. Practically no belongings. You just have your danda. You just have your walking stick. You're not even keeping food. And you're not wearing anything. We saw in the last class, you're just wearing maybe like a cloth around you, the kopina, like it's just a strip of cloth wrapped around your loin. Or maybe, Krishna said, you could wear a cloth covering your hips. That's it. That's the whole extent of your possessions. And drinking a water pot and a stick and a walking stick. That's it. Nothing else. So that's all you had. So as you do this, you're walking through, so you can't like stay, just hang out in the village. just hang out and like, oh yeah, this is a good village. People know me. You know, I go there, get some food, and then we go hang out in the river, eat, take a nap. No, that's not it. It's got to be hard. So you go through the earth alone. You walk alone on earth. But you travel about the earth alone, but not just traveling. It's not just like some kind of, hitchhiker, tourist. But how do you do that? Without any material attachment. That's what I mean about us taking these lessons. We can all, even if we're living in a house, and car, and job, and family, and taking care of kids, but we can all take these lessons in without any material attachment, with senses fully controlled, remaining enthusiastic. So it's not that it's like a sad, depressed figure, dragging himself or herself about in lamentation. Oh, I don't have anything. No, enthusiastic is like fire. This tapas is like, this is good, because my consciousness is fired up. This is all about separating material things from consciousness and understanding that you are consciousness, and you can be fired up, you can be full of like bliss and enthusiasm for Krishna and connected and just feeling the bliss of being conscious, of being soul. The bliss of your own self and the bliss of your bhakti, of your connection to Krishna. So these are all yours. This is consciousness. It's got nothing to do with matter. So the sannyas, they would be walking around, getting rid of matter, living in the bare minimum. So this would stand out. So consciousness would stand out. And of course, you can do this right now. So with your life, even if you are surrounded by family and you have your job and house and everything, but you can work on, it's just a little harder, but you can do it. You can separate everything else from your consciousness. Understand that I am consciousness, I am soul. And then have your consciousness just full of enthusiasm for this bliss of self-realization, the bliss of bhakti, of thinking of Krishna, being connected to Krishna, of doing all you're doing with your house and your job and your car and everything, but you're just doing that for Krishna. And then that's sannyas, that's the sannyas of the Bhagavad-gita. Remember, there's a whole, I've mentioned this before, I've done a class here on this channel on sannyas, on the Bhagavad-gita. So that's the sannyas we have to practice. So we all have to be real sannyasis inside. Even though we might not be traveling the earth alone at this point. You probably can't do it anymore because now you'd have to have passports and credit cards and visas. You can't even do it anymore. And people would arrest you and, it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. But you can do it inside. So you do these things, remain enthusiastic, satisfied in realization of the Supreme Lord and the Self. So you have this satisfaction, this Atma Krita. You're satisfied with yourself, Atma Rata. Satisfied, completely satisfied in spiritual understanding. And this is a wonderful thing about this path, because we do experience this. Every day, you will live your life with this Atma Rata, this enthusiasm, satisfied with your spiritual understanding. Atma Krida, enthusiastic about realization of the Super Soul, about yourself as soul. So this we experience directly. So with this, the saintly person should then travel the earth alone, having equal vision everywhere. So then Krishna even ends with Samadarshana, the famous Samadarshana, famous term from Bhagavad Gita as well. Samadarshana, sama, same, the same word, state, sama, state in English is same, and darshan, vision. What does that mean? Samadarshan means that you're seeing things spiritually. Samadarshan requires you to see all living beings as souls and all matter as prakriti. So with that vision, you can see Samadarshan. You don't see like, oh, this elephant is completely different from this human. No, it's samadarshan, the same thing. So material vision, elephant, human, totally different. Samadarshan, soul, the same. Samadarshan, gold, gold, I can do all these things with gold, it's going to be amazing. And then like a pile of dirt, useless, different. Samadarshan, Krishna's energy, Prakriti, same. So this is Samadarshan, where you can see things in the transcendental view. Okay, very good stuff. Purport: one who remains attached to material sense gratification cannot be steady in the process of chanting Hare Krishna. Being shackled by illusory desires, he is not able to fully control the senses. Actually, one should take shelter of devotional service to Lord Krishna 24 hours a day. For by such service, one remains within the scope of spiritual reality. And this is it. This is what yoga is. Yoga isn't a religion where you check off the boxes like, did you go to church on Sunday? Yes. Did you do your donations? Yes. Did you do your thing of faith? Yes. Whatever, No, it's not like that. Did you go to the temple? Did you do the yajna? No, it's not like that. It's consciousness. Yoga is about consciousness. It's about nirodha, controlling your mind, chitta nirodha. You want to control your mind. So your mind has to be connected all the time, not external things. By chanting and hearing the holy names of the Lord along with the Lord's glories and pastimes, one naturally drifts away from the field of material and material sense gratification. Good association with Lord Krishna and his devotees automatically vanquishes useless material association, and one is able to carry out the Vedic injunctions meant to lift the conditioned soul out of the material field and onto the liberated platform of Krishna consciousness. In this regard, Srila Rupa Goswami states in his Upadeshamrita, offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasadam and offering prasadam are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee to another. One who thus learns to associate with the Lord's devotees actually remains insulated from the contamination of material life. By pure association, one gradually understands the name, form, qualities, associates, pastimes, and devotional service of Lord Krishna, and thus even in this lifetime, one can become a resident of the spiritual world. And of course, association means who you are having connection with, sharing your consciousness as we are right now doing. This is association too. By the influence of such devotees, one develops equal vision, samadarshan, and sees the realized knowledge of Krishna consciousness everywhere. As one begins to understand his eternal relationship with Lord Krishna, he becomes atmavan, situated in his constitutional position, an advanced Vaishnava, constantly enjoying the mellows of loving devotional service and carrying out the mission of the Lord on the earth, is Atmakrida, one who enjoys life with the eternal potency of the Supreme Lord. The advanced devotee remains constantly attracted to the Supreme Lord and his devotees and is therefore Atma Rata, fully satisfied by constant engagement in devotional service. One cannot possibly develop the exalted qualities mentioned here without becoming an unalloyed devotee of Lord Krishna. One who is envious of the Lord and his devotees becomes attracted to bad association, gradually loses control of the senses, and falls down into the network of impious life. The innumerable varieties of non-devotees are like branches sprouting from the single tree of enviousness of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and their association should be given up by all means. So there's always these recommendations like be careful who you're hanging out with, right? Because tell me who you're with and I'll tell you who you are. So be careful with who you're hanging out with, your intimate associations, because naturally consciousness is shared. So if you hang out with people who think a certain way, you'll naturally absorb that mentality as well. So that's going to be a hindrance on the path if their mentality is contrary to the mentality of this path. Without unalloyed devotional service to the Lord, one loses touch with the desire and mission of the personality of Godhead and becomes attracted to worshiping the wonderful male and female creations of the Lord's illusory energy. Demigods, demigoddesses, celebrities, politicians, prostitutes, etc. In this way, one foolishly considers something besides Lord Krishna to be supremely wonderful. Actually, Lord Krishna is the only true object of worship for those desiring to experience unlimited beauty and pleasure. By seriously taking to Krishna consciousness, one can realize the transcendental position of Lord Krishna and gradually develop all of the qualities mentioned in this verse. And indeed we can. So I hope you enjoy that and have the rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love. Hare Krishna.